Hello everyone, namaste, welcome back to my channel. Hi, if you're new here, this is Amisha Singh Chauhan, and if you're looking for something fun, dark and mysterious, then you're at the right place. So do not forget to subscribe to my channel and also hit that bell icon so that every time I'm here with a new case to talk about, you'll get to know about it. So the case we're going to talk about today is quite different. I mean, on this channel we have done true crime, conspiracy theories, and even paranormal cases or stories. But this case is a mix of two, true crime and paranormal. And yes, I have done something similar. That was the Devil Made Me Do It case. I'll put the link in the description if you haven't checked out my video. Anyways, that was the case on which the Conjuring 3 movie was made. So yes, it won't be the first time, but it's definitely different from the normal. Now, the thing about this case is that some believe that it is completely true crime and there is no paranormal thing happening. But then there is this other section of people who believe that there is definitely something paranormal or occult. But today I'm going to leave it on you guys to decide if there was paranormal or not, if it was occult or not, or if it was just true crime. So let's get started before we come to that point. Now we are talking about the case of Teresita Basa. Teresita Basa was from the Philippines originally. She came from a prominent and a wealthy family. Now she did her graduation from there, and after her graduation she moved to United States of America. Now over here in America, she started doing her masters in music, and eventually she started working as a respiratory therapist in Edgewater Hospital in Chicago. Now, she was also planning on going back to school, and she was working really hard on her doctoral thesis on music. And sometimes whenever she had extra time, she would also give piano lessons from her home. Now, what happened is that on 21st of February 1977, when she was 47 years old, as usual, like her ordinary day would go on, she went to the hospital, did her shift, came back home, did her chores, and around 7:30 p.m., she received a phone call from her friend Ruth Lee. Now, for next 20 to 25 minutes, she was talking with her friend, and then she hung up, telling her that she was going to have a male visitor. And that's all. She did not specify what this visitor's name was or what was the person behind this person visiting. So anyways, what happens next is around 8:40 p.m., a couple who was living just down the hall from Teresita's apartment, they started smelling smoke. At first, they tried to find out where the smoke was coming, but when they couldn't, so they called the building's janitor, who immediately contacted Chicago Fire Department. Now, when the firefighters arrived, they very soon determined that the fire was coming from apartment 15B, which was also Teresita's apartment. Now, the door was locked, so they had to break in through, and when they entered the apartment, they were completely horrified to find out that the fire was not accidental. They found Teresita Basa's body on the floor. She was completely naked. There was a kitchen knife penetrating in the center of her chest. Above all of that, whoever had done this had put a pile of clothes on her body, lit it on fire, and then over that put a mattress as well and lit the mattress on fire too. Now, the fire department knew that this was a homicidal case, so they got the detectives. Now, the detectives over here, they knew that whoever had murdered Teresita Basa, they had also lit the blaze so that they could destroy any potential evidence which would take them back to the murderer. Now, at first, when the detectives saw the condition in which Teresita was found, they assumed that she had been raped or had gone through some sort of sexual assault because she was found naked. But they were shocked to know after the autopsy report that no such thing had happened. Over that, like I mentioned earlier, that it was very difficult for the investigators, for the detectives to find any evidence. Whatever evidence would have left behind by the criminal, it got all destroyed because of the fire. But they did find one note. Now, this note said, "Get theater tickets for AS." These were the exact same words. Now, the thing with this note was that the detectives had no idea who this AS was. Also, they had no idea how recently Teresita had written this note to herself. I mean, it could have been a day earlier or it could have been years. Who knows? There was no date or time. So basically, that note was also to a moot point. There was nothing further. Now, after this, the investigators, they spoke with her co-workers, with her friends, and any person who knew Teresita Basa, and they got to know about the very same thing. Everybody was shocked. I mean, she was the last person any of them would expect to get murdered. As in, she did not fit the category. I know it sounds weird, but these are not my words. So, anyways, everyone described her to be very reserved, but at the same time, she did have friends, very limited friends, and she was very polite and warm. She did not have any enemies or, any enemy, and nobody knew the motive behind it. Like, what was the reason behind murdering Teresita Basa? Nobody had any idea. Now, the investigation was not really going anywhere, so after a couple of months, the case went cold. Now, that was until July of 1977 when the investigation started heating up after the detectives received a phone call from Dr. Jose Chua. Now, a side note over here, in a lot of articles, it is Joe Chua, so I just want to mention that so that there's no confusion. So anyways, Dr. Chua told the detectives over a phone call that he had some information regarding Teresita's murder, very important information. Now, the detectives were like, it's been quite a while and they never really had any such leads, so let's just go and find out what this person has to say. Now, when they arrived at Dr. Chua's house, they were received by Dr. Chua and his wife, Remedios Chua, aka Remy. Now, Remy was also from the Philippines originally. Now, the first thing that Dr. Chua said or asked the detectives was if they believed in the occult or paranormal. Now, when the detectives heard this, they were like, you know what? You are being pranked. This is all just waste of time. Nothing's gonna come out of this. But they thought that, anyways, we are here. So let's just see what this person has to say. So they went along with him. And Dr. Chua continued that some time ago, his wife Remy, she started having these dreams, these strange dreams, which were of Teresita Basa. At first, she ignored them, but then what happened was that once when she was taking a nap, she entered a trance-like state. And when she was in that state, she started speaking, but the voice wasn't hers. It was of completely a different person's. And Dr. Chua was shocked because this voice did not sound like his wife. And then the voice started speaking to Dr. Chua. The voice claimed that it was of Teresita Basa. So basically, Teresita Basa had possessed Remy, and through Remy, like Remy was a medium, and through Remy, Teresita Basa's ghost was speaking to Dr. Chua and making this plea. So basically, Teresita Basa's ghost was saying that would you please go to the police and give them the name of my murderer who is out and walking as a free man. Now what happened is that after this plea was made, the voice faded away, and then when the wife woke up, as in when Remy woke up from her nap, she had no knowledge that something like that had happened. And over here, Dr. Chua was completely confused and unsure as to what had happened. Like, was it a dream? What was it? Like, why was his wife speaking in somebody else's voice? And that too, she was giving out this information. But then he thought that he had no evidence to go to the police with the murderer's name. So Teresita Basa actually gave a name. The name was Alan Shoury. Now, the reason why Dr. Chua did not go to the police was because he felt that A, there was no evidence, also B, that if he would go to the police with a name, then he might look suspicious, that the investigators would start looking at him suspiciously, because a lot of times this happens. People go to the police and they give a fake name so that the light is not on them. So because of all of these reasons, he did not go to the police. Now what happens is that the following week it happens again. She's sleeping and she enters trance-like state and the voice comes again. But this time the voice is annoyed and angry, and the voice is saying that why didn't you go to the police? Why didn't you get my murderer arrested and convicted? So Dr. Chua played along and he said, you know what, I'm a doctor. I have a scientific mind, and plus there's no evidence. So even if I would go to the police, nobody's going to believe what I'm saying. I mean, you're a ghost after all. So the voice said that she has some evidence. So when this murderer, this Alan Shoury, murdered her, he also stole some precious jewelry from her house. These jewelry were actually her mother's, and her father had gotten them from France. The voice added that after he stole these jewelries from her house, he gifted to his girlfriend. The voice also named people who would verify this information. Now, after this, Dr. Chua went to the police. He did not wanted his wife to go through another such episode. Now, when the police heard about this, they were skeptical. I mean, they were really questioning, are we really gonna go investigate on a tip of a ghost? But at the same time, the name Alan Shoury, the initials matched with Teresita Basa Bassa's note that she had written to herself. So they were like, anyways, there's no lead on this case. So let's just go ahead and find out what exactly is with this Alan Shourie. Now, before they confronted Alan Shourie, they actually ran a background check and they were shocked to find out that Alan Shourie lived very close to Teresita's apartment. Over that, he was also working in the very same hospital as Teresita Bassa as an orderly. Now, from their co-workers, the detectives found out that on a lot of different occasions, Alan Shourie would run errands for Teresita, and in return, Teresita would pay him back generously because she knew about his financial issues. And they also heard this information that on the day of the murder, Teresita had asked for Alan Shourie's help so as to fix her television, which was not working. So he was supposed to go in the evening to fix her television at her apartment. Now, when the detectives found this information, they went to Alan Shourie's house unannounced, and luckily they found both Alan Shourie and his girlfriend, Yanka Kamluk. Now, they asked Alan Shourie very politely if he would go down with them to the police station so that they could ask him some questions regarding Teresita's murder, and he agreed. Now, initially, he completely denied seeing Teresita on the day of her murder, but eventually he agreed that yes, he was asked by Teresita to fix her television. He did go to her apartment, but then when he realized that he was lacking sufficient tools, so he returned back home. Now, there was another reason why he came back home, and that was because he was having some electrical issues at his place. Now, by this time, the investigators started suspecting him really. Like, they were like, okay, so we are getting somewhere. His initials match, and he was supposed to be there. He was the male visitor, supposedly. So, we might have got the right person over here. So they paused the interview in the middle and they went to spoke with the girlfriend, Yanka Kamluk. Now, they asked Yanka Kamluk if on the day of the murder, of Teresita's murder, if they were having some electrical issues at their house. And she said that she does not know if something like that was happening. She wasn't really aware of it. Also, she added that even if they were having some sort of electrical issues, Alan Shourie wouldn't be able to fix it. He did not have the said skills or knowledge to fix any electrical issue. Now, after that, the investigators asked her if recently Alan Shourie had given her some gifts, like, some jewelry. And she said that in February, he did give her some jewelry, and he said that it was a late Christmas present. Now, after this, the investigators asked if they could take those jewelries, and they took it to the police station, and they asked Teresita's friends and family if these jewelries belonged to Teresita, which they all agreed to. Now, when the investigators confronted Alan Shourie with this information, he confessed. He agreed that on that day, he was to go to Teresita's apartment to fix her television, but he was also intending to rob her so that he could pay his due rent. Now, what happened was that when he entered her apartment and when she turned her back to close the door, he took out the kitchen knife and attacked her. He stripped her clothes off so that it would look like that she had been raped or sexually assaulted. After this, he lit the blaze so that he could destroy any possible evidence. But all of this was a failure because he could only get $30. And so as to make all of this thing that whatever he did worth it, he stole the jewelries. Now, after this, he was arrested on August of 11th, 1977 on charges of murder, robbery and arson. His trial began 2 years later on 21st of January 1979. Now, even though he had confessed to the detectives, he pled not guilty during his trial. He said that the only reason why he confessed 2 years earlier was because the police fed him information and threatened him that he, along with his pregnant girlfriend, would get arrested on charges of murder. He said that he has alibi, and on the day of murder he was actually having dinner with his girlfriend, and then after that around 7:30 p.m. he was playing dart with his neighbor and drinking too. Now, the trial ended on 26th of January 1979. It was a mistrial with a deadlocked jury. Now, something very surprising happened. Now, a month later, while he was waiting for his new trial, Alan Shourie actually confessed. He pled guilty of all charges. Now, in return of this, he got his sentence reduced. Now, a lot of people believe that the reason behind his change of heart was because Teresita Basa's ghost visited him while he was behind the bars. But I don't think so that really happened, because if it did really happen, then Teresita's ghost would have visited him long back. Then Teresita's ghost wouldn't have gone to Remy, she would have directly gone to Alan Showery to make him confess to the police. But I think the likely explanation over here was that he listened to the advice of his lawyers and it was in his best interest. I mean, his sentence got reduced to 14 years and in the end he only served 5 years and he was released on parole in 1983. Now here we come to the end of the case, but then there are so many questions. When the investigators were asked if they really believed in the paranormal stuff in this case, they said that yes, they agreed that initially they were skeptical and they were not really believing it, but then they have no possible explanation as to how would Remy know all of these details, and all of these details did come out true. But the thing is that if we dive in a little deeper, we would find that all of these three people were connected. Remy was also working in the very same hospital in Chicago, the Edgewater Hospital, as a respiratory therapist, and so was Teresita Basa. And Alan Showery was working as an orderly in the very same hospital. So all of these three people were connected. Now, according to Dr. Chua and Remy had met Teresita Basa only once or twice, maybe during a seminar or an orientation. So the question over here comes is that would she be possessed by a ghost of a woman whom she had met just once or twice? I mean, wouldn't the ghost most likely possess someone whom she's close with? But then you can say that, they were both from the Philippines, so maybe because of that link. I don't know. Now, with Alan Showery and Remy, the thing was that Alan Showery's defense attorney said in the court that Remy and her husband, Dr. Chua, were suspecting Alan Showery to be the person who complained to the authorities of the hospital that Remy wasn't working properly, that she wasn't giving her best, because of which she was fired. And apparently, Remy started having these dreams and she was being possessed by Teresita immediately after her being fired from the hospital, after she lost her job. So the question that comes over here is that how is it possible that all of a sudden, after she was fired, her psychic senses really heightened to such a limit? That is really a good question. Now, the possible answer to this could be that in reality, she might have overheard Alan Showery. Now, she was working in the very same hospital as Alan Showery. So there is a possibility that, Alan Showery would have been talking to someone and giving out this information that he murdered or how he murdered Teresita. She might have had overheard this. And because of some strange fear, I don't know, she might be fearful of something, she did not really go to the police directly with this information, and instead, with the help of her husband, Dr. Chua, she created this entire dreams and possession paranormal thing. Now, like I said, I think we would never really know. I mean, she always denies lying over here, but in the end of the day, I don't think so it really does matter, because see, like, we are having a conversation right now, so yes, it's just for the conversation, but the thing is that the murderer is behind the bars, and even if she was lying, even if she wasn't, whatever she said was right. And definitely Teresita Basa got justice. I mean, her murderer is convicted and was behind the bars, even if for some time. Now, that's all for the case. I would love to know, what do you guys believe? Do you think that Remy was really being possessed by Teresita's ghost and Teresita solved her own murder? Or do you believe that Remy had overheard, or maybe she was, suspicious? She might know that he was going to go to her place and she just connected the dots. Or maybe it was something subconscious. I don't know. What do you guys believe? I would love to know them. I love reading your comments, so put them in the comment section. Also, if you have any suggestion, then you can directly put them in the comment section or message me on my Instagram. I'll put my Instagram handle over here. If you found this video informative, then do hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't, and that's all for the day. Take care of yourself, be happy, be positive. Bye bye.